This is your Neepawa Town Council Debrief for the February the 7th, 2023 meeting. The debrief will take you through the key issues being discussed by Council and provide a bit more information on what they mean for the town. Because of the length of this week's Council meeting, the debrief has been produced in two parts. Deputy Mayor Parrott is chairing the meeting this week, and he takes some time throughout to explain some of the regular operations of Council to viewers, including things that many people familiar with municipal operations may take for granted. In the second half of the meeting, we start with a report from the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee talking about the needs of the town in relation to the upcoming budget. As an expanding town, creating underlying infrastructure for new areas, such as the location of the new hospital, is critical. As well, the town needs to prioritize which streets to require repair versus which would just look better if repaired in order to allocate budget dollars. Ideally, of course, the town will be able to always do both, but there are cost considerations. The same holds true of equipment replacement and repair, and lately there is always the question of availability of materials and contractors as well.
In the Public Works meeting that we had last week, we spoke about a lot of what's able to happen this year, what might be able to happen this year, and what we need to plan for the next 20 years, etc. All these things are coming into play because obviously we have an expanding town that has a lot of needs for expansion and the infrastructure to go in for that expansion. We also have the need to create the infrastructure in a positive way for the hospital build, which is also going to influence our future expansions. We need to do this in a good way. So as far as giving you any specifics as in the names of streets and any dollar figures, we will not be doing that because our Finance Committee is going to be meeting with all the recommendations of what we need to happen this year, and they're going to be able to tell us whether or not we can actually do it financially and keep the hospital build going. So in our meeting, we were talking about what we're going to be able to do about maintaining our water supply and increasing our water supply and protecting our water supply, as we have to have twinning of some kind to protect the hospital's water supply, and we also need to be able to protect our future development of the town where we can supply twice as much water as we already use. In our street repairs, there's areas in town that were spoken of that must be repaired due to safety reasons, and there's areas of town that would be really nice to look a little more beautiful. In doing that, we will definitely be looking at the must repair areas, and as far as the make them beautiful areas, those will be subject to budget restraints. The possibility of micro-sealing an area due to the company that does the micro-sealing is in the area doing a super large project, which is going to be a benefit to the town anyway. We might be able to piggyback on that. We have water and sewer projects that will be in the queue, and there will be a list of them as to which ones must go first, which ones need to go first, and which ones should go first. We have an extension of the street that may or may not be able to happen due to budget restraints, but the majority of the material is here. It will be subject to contractor availability. We have an expansion of the subdivision where we need to put in a water line and a sewer line, and again, we'll be needing the contractors to be available, and the materials for that particular project are not on site, but we may have extra land around that we could use. The hospital project is going very well. The engineers, the town staff, and the contractors have all been working in harmony to make this project happen as best as possible. It's still in a lot of the paperwork stages, but as everyone can see, there has been a lot of engineering going on, and they're pounding piles into the ground for the actual hospital foundation. As far as the town employees doing work on the 40-acre site that is owned by the hospital project, the town does not do the work on that 40 acres. The town is working on their portion, which would be sewer and water and road. As far as equipment needs, we went over a list of different pieces of equipment that are totally necessary for the staff to function, and the ones that are creating more breakdowns and repair costs than replacement. And our staff are looking at all the grants that are available and trying to access as many as possible. For those people worrying about whether or not they will or will not see a slide appear down at the pool, the slide will be in queue to be constructed as long as it does not interfere with the opening in the pool. But the most important part is as long as we can get a contractor to actually do it. And as Big and Rich has just arrived, he totally understands the difficulty in getting sub-trades and contractors to come around and actually do work because they're in such short supply. So that's Public Works and Infrastructure report.
Other council reports cover the recent Louis Riel Day events, including a fundraiser for the firefighters and a chili cook-off between local nonprofits. This event and many others are seeking volunteers to help coordinate and run the activities. In a sadder turn of events, Councillor Sisley also reports that there has been more vandalism at the flats, and this time the defibrillator was damaged. Councillor Nadeau, who is helping to create the new Volunteerism and Environmentalism Committee, mentioned that there are many volunteers in town, citing the many people who showed up to help during the flood. But it was pointed out that we need volunteers at all times of the year and not just during disasters. Councillor Gerard brings up the Yellowhead Functional Review, which needs to be completed by the end of March. Many of the interviews for the review were expedited due to the Viteria Championships taking over the Yellowhead in February.
So I have a Winterfest update. There will be a pancake breakfast at Arts Forward that the Neepawa Fire Department, the firefighters will be cooking the pancakes for everybody. So it's a fundraiser for them, and I do believe it is from 9 to 11. I should double check on that though. Unfortunately, the sleigh rides are canceled due to the cost of the sleigh rides and the lack of donations towards the event. There will be a lot still going on. There'll be hot dogs supplied by Neepawa Gladstone Co-op with fire pits for cooking and warming up. There's going to be face painters, skate with the Titans on the outdoor rink, an obstacle course that Muriel Gammy will put on for everybody, and the gymnastics club is hosting a free gym at Yellowhead, and there'll also be some climbing hills, and there's going to be a chili cook-off for some non-profit organizations. We are still looking for volunteers to work throughout the day, whether that be down at the flats for the actual Winterfest or at the Roxy for the free movie that will be at 3 o'clock. So you can call the town office at 204-476-7600 if you're able to volunteer. And there is another addition. Unfortunately, this one isn't a positive one with the washrooms. There was more vandalism that consisted of major damage to the automated external defibrillator device at the flats change room. Thankfully, the cameras that we have installed outside the change rooms are helping in the RCMP investigation of the incident, and we thank everyone for their support in helping to deter any vandalism at the flats. And for those interested in volunteering for the COP program, which is our Citizens on Patrol, you can call Clint at 204-476-0054 or 204-841-4180.
Any questions for that? Okay, Chair Nadeau for the Volunteerism Committee.
Yes, the other person on the committee, our mayor, Brian Headley, and I, we met on January 6th as our first meeting of this new committee, and we were able to establish an outline of what the committee looks like. So we're redefining it. It's something that we're treading new ground here, and we're really trying to make something special, and we want to make sure we get it right. So we're taking a little more time before we go public with our areas of what this committee involves. We're meeting again later this week on February 9th in between curling, and but we're putting this important time aside in order to make sure that we make more progress as we continue on here with this new committee. And really shortly, in the coming weeks, I see us making more of a public presence. But really, as you know, it's environmental health and volunteerism, and we're already doing such an amazing job here in Neepawa, and the curling alone is just a good identifier. And then down at the flats, like my colleague here just mentioned, how we definitely need people to volunteer. So please put your time in that you can to help support this wonderful event in our community.
Okay. You didn't happen to have any volunteers kicking around for the event, and
You know, Neepawa is such a great place. I'm sure we're going to have more than enough. You know, thinking back when we had the floods and we had so many trucks lined up at the water tower there
Yeah.
to get those sandbags.
Yeah, and and that was it. That was a really great thing when we had a disaster. Everybody does step forward. The one thing about the winter fair is not a disaster, and it still needs volunteers.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I would put out that to the general public. We all like to see events happening in town, but the events don't happen on their own. They take cooperation and volunteers. And a lot of that stems from remembering to, as you're running your groups, no matter what group it is, that you continuously include your youth and groom your youth to let you sit in that easy chair someday as they take over property. Anyway, that was my little perk. Okay, so we'll now move to other council reports from the boards that you were on and other committees that you were on throughout the town. And I will just ask councillors to signify. Councillor Nadeau.
Sure, I'll go first and get mine out of the way. Geez, I've been really busy over the last 3 weeks. It goes right back to the day after the last meeting we had. January 18th was a very busy day for me. 4 meetings that day. So it started early in the day and then we kept going right into the evening. The Westlake Employment Services had their regular meeting along with an AGM meeting. So it was a double meeting and we were able to get 3 new board members. So that was really good. And almost all of the municipalities that the Westlake Employment Services serves are now on there. So that's good. We're just looking to still get a volunteer from the Westlake Gladstone area. But other than that, we now have a really dynamic board, so it's really looking positive and working within the community and helping to serve the residents. So there's a lot of good things coming from that, along with the fact that Westlake Employment Services is working with its neighboring partners in its building that it is at the former co-op down on Mountain. So working with Immigration Services and Salvation Army, we're really seeing how we can help complement each other to provide the best services for all of our residents. The next meeting on January 8th was the Western Manitoba Regional Library meeting. So we had a regular board meeting and our citizen rep and myself were there to represent the town, Bill Stillwell and myself, and again, a lot of business was able to be accomplished in a short amount of time. And then later in the night, there was also a Rossburn Subdivision Trail Association meeting. And at that meeting, we really talked more about how the dynamics of using virtual meetings is really important. We've decided to host all of our meetings in Sandy Lake because it's virtual. So we're one of the further drives to town. It takes just over an hour to get there. But we use the fire hall. They're gracious to support us that way, and they've now got high-speed internet. So I'm the techie in the group, so they asked for my help in purchasing equipment and then getting it set up so that we can have our regular meetings hybrid, but both. It's hard to eat those cookies when you're remote, so definitely everyone does prefer to be in person, but every so often, based on weather and other circumstances, we have to provide that option. One thing that I did hear from residents to kind of add on to that is we had a couple concerns just with our own trail. We're finding that there's a spot along our trail between Riverbend Park and the hospital, how it winds, how the water has eroded part of it. So I have some pictures I'll share here with administration at the end of the night, just showing where we have got some concerns of the trail that we just have to do some repairs to the riverbank, just to make sure it's safe for everybody because it's eroding a lot and it does pose a danger. That's January 18th. On February 6th, just yesterday, we had a local Neepawa library meeting, and it was all the members attended, and it was really well chaired. We had our chair return as chair, so that was really good, and we had a really good discussion. And there's so many great things happening at our Neepawa library. The cricket machine was the star of the show, unfortunately. One of our new, it's kind of like a CNC machine for other objects other than wood or steel. So it allows you to cut out from paper to vinyl. So it's one of the new maker stations that they have. And if you go and do the training on it, they'll let you do your own cricket programming. So our library has also had some recent renovations. They changed the way their computer carols are. So it used to be a wall with a long desk with computers, and now it's actually a couple carols that we're borrowing from the Carberry Library. So we're seeing a lot of great programs at our local library, and I encourage everyone to stop in, see the new renovations, and see this cricket machine in action, or just go ahead and plop yourself down on some beautiful comfy seats that they have there in order to let you relax and read a book. The last thing I'll just mention from one more committee that I met with is, as I'm on the Yellowhead board, but I'm also a councillor here, and I represent a user group, I participated in part of the Yellowhead Centre review. I joined other user groups in order to help give some feedback to help with the review, and it went really well, and that was over on January 24th, so a nice chance to see how this review is going. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that nice report. Councillor Nadeau, any questions on Councillor Nadeau's report? Councillor Gerard.
Speaking to the Yellowhead function review, is there the opportunity for the community to comment at large with this review and this process?
Looking at the time frame, they have to have this wrapped by the end of March, and of course then it was complicated by the Viterra Championships, which had them expedite the interviews that they were able to do. No, not necessarily. Yous did get a link today to participate in the survey. We have asked them as of today if we can reach out to key people we think
Tourism and chamber
have
both getting
valuable information by stretching it at least to those limits, but this is already February. We need the draft report on the desk very shortly so that we can get this all cleaned up by the March.
Wasn't sure if it was going to be open to the public at large.
If you know of an individual that
it. Certainly share it with people,
Yeah.
it just won't be wide open.
No, thank you.
somebody that would be key to providing information, give us those names and we'll appreciate that.
Manager of Operations Denisa Kay reports that between snow removal and sewer work, the Public Works staff have been kept very busy this winter. He has been in meetings over the DFA, or Disaster Financial Assistance work, at the golf course in Park Lake, and reports on the work scheduled through the rest of the spring.
Manager of Operations Denisa Kay.
Thank you. So staff have been pretty busy just with their normal activities, so whether it be snow clearing or just sewer maintenance and jetting, stuff like that. Water plant's been pretty quiet. All departments have been just kind of running smoothly right now. My time's been occupied with some meetings regarding some of the disaster financial work. So Park Lake, we meet regularly on that project, and we got some updates today that they'll probably, well, they're working right now excavating, but probably about mid-March they'll be pulling off site, because then they'll start getting prepped for spring runoff and be out, and then come back. I believe they can come back after June 15th to commence work again. The golf course, they gave an update there as well, is that all the sheet piling, H piling has been completed. So now they'll just be working on the bridge structure itself. So we'll be moving on to that one. Lagoon build, Thorpe Construction has mobilized on the site, and they've started some of the formwork preparation. So we'll just see some concrete pours in that building. And then again, we meet probably every couple weeks on the active transportation one from our consultant there to see how that's progressing. So a lot of work's going on.
Anything happening with the Hamilton Street Boulevard?
Nothing.
Okay. In-house.
Council declared the 2023 Chamber of Commerce Fair to be held on May 26th to 28th as a community event, much like they did for the Viterra Championships. This primarily has implications for the liquor license, allowing such things as selling tickets at the door and expanding advertising of the event.
We have a resolution. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Neepawa declare the 2023 Neepawa District Chamber of Commerce Fair as a community event, entitling them to obtain a community events liquor permit for the period of Friday, May 26th to Sunday, May 28th of the year 2023. We'll make that adjustment on that resolution. What's that?
I just can't get the year right.
All right, so I'll need a mover and a seconder for that. Okay, we're going to go for the move and Costa for the seconder. Discussion. Councilor Nadeau.
No, I'm a big fan of the community having a fair, so I think I'm a big supporter.
Okay, Ms. Kostruck? Can I ask our CAO to explain why we need to do something like this? And the importance of
Every
it?
community is allowed 2 community event permits in their round, so this would be the first we're applying for in 2023. We've already done Viterra.
Yes.
This will be the second one, so this is it. Not to say you can't have another, but you need written permission now out of the province to do so. So the reason being to allow this is that you can actually sell tickets in the door, you can advertise all those things. Whereas if you're running a social, for example, you have to have pre-sales, you cannot sell tickets at the door. So there's a different set of rules. By passing this as a community permit, and it relaxes a lot of those rules.
So then if we have future groups thinking a community event, they better give themselves extra lead time because now we're going to need written permission. So if you are a group thinking of something like this, know that the lead times could be longer going forward to get this approved.
So is this like to do like a beer gardens or
No,
something?
it means it's a little more broader and open. So like I said, in a social Murray, there's certain things you can't do insofar as advertising and selling tickets at the door. You can't just come and get your ticket and drink. There's different rules that govern that. Community events are approved based on anybody can come. You could get a ticket at the door, you can, the idea being it's more of an economic benefit to the community.
And it makes a difference with bartenders and
Yeah.
everything else. You don't have to have your serve safe if it's a community event.
Okey dokey. All those in favor? Carried.
The first application to the Storefront Improvement Program for 2023 is from one of Neepawa's newest businesses, Hidden Hollow, a toy store which opened downtown just before Christmas. They are looking to repair the exterior of the old building, which is located on Davidson Street next to the library, as well as install a mural that will mirror the mural that was painted on the interior over the holidays.
Okay, we move on to Storefront Improvement Incentive Program for the 2023 intake called Hidden Hollow. Be it resolved that we approve an application to the Storefront Improvement Program submitted by Hidden Hollow to repair the storefront and install a mural at 266 Davidson Street. Incentive provided shall be a maximum of $5,000 or 50% of the actual cost, whichever is lesser. Mover, Councillor Sicily, seconder, Councillor Pottinger. Discussion, Councillor Sicily.
Yeah, I'll speak to this. This is the first application that's come through for 2023. If anybody hasn't had a chance to get to Hidden Hollow and check out the inside mural, what was done over Christmas time, it's absolutely amazing. The store itself and what they have for product, I think is just awesome that we have that in town. I stopped in, Linda showed me around and talked me through what the outside mural will look like, and it's going to mirror what the inside mural is. They're not just going to slap paint on, they're actually fixing the cracks and really working at making that outside of that building look good. I think it'll probably be the nicest building in town. So we discussed this at our Recreation and Economic Development meeting, and everybody was in support of this, so we are looking for council support.
Could you tell us where this is?
It is...
It's hidden.
266.
It's right beside the library, is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and you don't really notice it where it is right now, but it's gonna pop when they're done, so.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Finally, the newest project of the Handy Van is to organize free trips for groceries for the senior residences in Neepawa, Elks Manor, Kinsman Courts 1 and 2, and Yellowhead Manor. These will be to Fresh Mart and Co-op on Senior Tuesdays. The committee is also working on adding trips to Safeway on a different day.
Now we're on to, do you have anything else to talk about? It's called other business, stuff that we forgot about at the beginning of the meeting, but really want to hop on to now.
I'm gonna actually mention something. I forgot to talk about Handyman. We put out an advertisement today on Facebook. They have partnered with Co-op and Fresh Mart, and they're having Senior Tuesdays. So the grocery stores are actually working with them to bring anybody from Elks Manor, KK1, KK2, and Yellowhead Manor. They get a free round trip ride to the grocery stores to get their groceries and back with their groceries. So it's happening on Tuesdays, and we're really close to having Safeway on board for a different day too, so. Yes.
Okay, that sounds great.
Also covered were a few subcommittee meetings, the regular financial report, minor changes on a pair of subdivision requests, and second and third reading of the new cemetery bylaw. You can view end-to-end coverage of the town council meeting elsewhere on the NACTV schedule, including immediately following this. If you have comments, questions, or topics that we may be able to find more information on for you, please reach out to us at 204-476-2639, by email at nactvnews@gmail.com, or on Facebook at Neepawa TV. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time.